The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the human ship New Horizon. Captain Jake Miller stood up from his chair and looked at the main screen. A massive alien ship was coming toward them. It was 3 times bigger than any human ship he had ever seen. "Sir, they're sending us a message," said Communications Officer Lisa Park. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see her hands shaking a little. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered and showed 3 very different alien faces. The first one looked like a giant lizard with golden eyes. The second looked like a big insect with many eyes. The third looked like it was made of blue crystal. The lizard-like alien spoke first. Its voice was cold and strange. "I am Commander Zethkar of the Vorthic Empire. We represent the Galactic Federation. We have come to decide if your species can join our civilization." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Jake Miller of Earth. We welcome this chance to meet you." Commander Zethkar's golden eyes looked around the bridge. Jake could see the alien was studying every human on the bridge. The alien's gaze stopped on Lieutenant Ben Hayes, who was standing near the weapons control. Stationed next to Ben was his dog, Scout. Scout was a big German shepherd with brown and black fur. The dog wore a special vest that showed he was a service animal. Scout helped Ben with his job and stayed with him during long space missions. The insect-like alien made a buzzing sound. "I am Drone Prime Zeloth of the Nexari Collective. We sense emotional chaos from your crew. This is disturbing to our mental harmony." The crystal alien's voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Crystal Voice Morthake of the Kelthan Assembly. We observe primitive emotional responses in your species." Jake frowned. "What do you mean by that?" Commander Zethkar pointed at Ben and Scout. "That creature. Why do you allow such an animal on your war vessel? And why does your soldier show attachment to it?" Ben's face turned red. "Scout isn't just an animal. He's my partner. He helps me do my job and saves lives." The 3 aliens looked at each other. Commander Zethkar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was cold and mean. "You form bonds with lesser creatures? This proves what we suspected about humans." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. His voice was getting harder. Drone Prime Zeloth buzzed again. "Emotional attachments make beings weak. They cloud judgment. They cause poor decisions. The Galactic Federation has watched your species for some time. You show too much emotion." Crystal Voice Morthic's crystal body glowed brighter. "Efficient beings do not waste energy on feelings. Your emotional displays are proof of weak programming." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he tried to stay calm. "Our emotions make us human. They help us care for each other and fight harder when we need to." Commander Zethkar's golden eyes seemed to shine with amusement. "Fighting harder? Your emotions make you fight stupidly. We have seen your wars. You make poor choices because you feel too much." Ben stepped forward, and Scout moved with him. The dog could sense Ben's anger and stayed close to protect him. "Scout has saved more lives than I can count. He finds bombs, tracks enemies, and warns us of danger. How is that weak?" "Because you care about it," Commander Zethkar said simply. "That care makes you vulnerable. It makes you make bad choices. An enemy could use that creature against you." The bridge became very quiet. Jake could see his crew getting angry at how the aliens talked about emotions and about Scout. Lieutenant Amy Foster, the pilot, had her hands in fists. Engineer Pete Collins was shaking his head. "We came here to offer your species a chance," Drone Prime Zeloth said. "But first, you must prove you can think clearly. You must prove emotions will not control you." "What kind of proof?" Jake asked. Crystal Voice Morthic's glow became brighter. "You must take tests. Combat tests. Strategy tests. But first, You must remove all emotional weaknesses from your crew. Commander Zethkar pointed at Scout again. That animal must go. All personal attachments must be broken. Only then can we see if humans can think like civilized beings. Ben's face went pale. You want me to get rid of Scout? He's not just my partner. He's my best friend. Exactly, Commander Zethkar said. That friendship is the problem. It makes you weak. It makes you think with your heart instead of your head. Jake felt his own anger growing, but he knew this was bigger than just one dog. If humanity failed this test, they would stay alone in space forever. They would miss the chance to learn about new technology, new medicine, and new worlds. How? Long do we have to decide? Jake asked. One of your gaze, Drone Prime Zaloth buzzed. Remove the emotional attachments, or we leave and never return. Your species will remain alone and primitive. The alien screen went dark. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. Ben was kneeling next to Scout, holding the dog close. This isn't fair, Amy said. They don't understand what Scout means to Ben, to all of us. Pete nodded. Scout has been part of this crew for 3 years. He's saved our lives more times than any of us can remember. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. The weight of the decision felt crushing. If he said no, humanity would remain alone in the galaxy. Millions of people on Earth and the colonies would never get the help they needed. New diseases could kill people that alien medicine might cure. Earth might face threats that only the Federation could help with. But if he said yes, he would have. To break Ben's heart, he would have to send Scout away from the only family the dog had ever known. Ben stood up slowly. His eyes were wet, but his voice was steady. Captain, I know what this means for humanity. If sending Scout away will help. Our people join the galaxy, then that's what we have to do. Scout looked up at Ben and wagged his tail. The dog didn't understand what was happening, but he could feel that Ben was sad. Jake closed his eyes. He had made hard decisions before, but never one like this. When he opened his eyes, he saw his whole crew looking at him. We'll meet in the conference room in 1 hour, Jake said. We need to talk about this as a crew before I make my decision. As the crew left the bridge, Ben stayed behind with Scout. He sat on the floor and held his dog close. Scout licked Ben's face, trying to make his human feel better. Jake watched them and wondered if the aliens were right. Were emotions really a weakness? Or were they what made humans special? He didn't know the answer yet, but he knew that whatever he decided would change everything for humanity, for Ben, and for one very good dog named Scout. The conference room felt smaller than usual with the whole crew inside. Captain Jake Miller sat at the head of the table, looking tired. Ben Hayes sat next to Scout, one hand on the dog's head. The rest of the crew filled the other chairs. You all heard what the aliens said? Jake began. They want us to prove humans can join their federation, but they want us to give up Scout first. Lieutenant Amy Foster slammed her hand on the table. This is crazy. Scout is part of our team. He saved all our lives. Engineer Pete Collins nodded hard. Remember when those pirates attacked the mining station? Scout found the bomb they hid in the air vents. Without him, 50 people would have died. And when Lieutenant Davis got lost in that cave system on Mars Colony, added communications officer Lisa Park. Scout tracked him for 2 days through those tunnels. Davis would have died down there. Ben looked down at Scout. Dog was lying calmly, but his brown eyes watched Ben's face. Scout doesn't understand why everyone is upset, Ben said quietly. He just knows something is wrong. Jake rubbed his forehead. I know what Scout means to this crew, but think about what's at stake here. The Federation has medicine that could cure diseases we can't treat. They have technology that could help us explore space safely. They have knowledge that could save millions of lives on Earth. At what cost? Amy asked. If we give up Scout, what else will they ask us to give up? Our families? Our friends? Everything that makes us human? Dr. Karen White, the ship's medical officer, spoke up. I've been thinking about this from a medical point of view. Ben has post-traumatic stress from the war on Europa. Scout helps him stay calm and focused. Without Scout, Ben might not be able to do his job. Ben's face turned red. I can handle myself, Doc. I know you can, Dr. White said gently. But Scout makes you better at your job. He's not just emotional support. He's a working partner. Jake looked around the table. I've been in contact with Earth Command. They're leaving the decision to us, but they made their opinion clear. They think we should accept the aliens' terms. The room became very quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Earth needed what the Federation offered. What if we refuse? Asked Lisa. Then the aliens leave, Jake said. They might never come back. Humanity stays alone in space, and we miss our chance to join the galactic community. Ben stood up suddenly. Scout stood up too, staying close to his partner. I need some air, Ben said. Come on, Scout. As Ben and Scout left the room, Jake continued the meeting. For 2 hours, the crew argued. Some wanted to refuse the aliens' demands. Others thought they had no choice but to accept. Finally, Jake made his decision. We're going to accept their terms, he said. I don't like it, but I have to think about all of humanity, not just one dog. Amy shook her head. This is wrong, Captain. Maybe, Jake said, but it's what we're going to do. Jake found Ben in the ship's small garden room. It was a quiet place, with real plants from Earth. Ben was sitting on a bench with Scout's head in his lap. The dog was sleeping. Ben, we need to talk, Jake said. Ben didn't look up. You're going to send Scout away? Yes, Jake said. I'm sorry. Ben was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I understand, Captain. I don't like it, but I understand. Humanity is bigger than one man and his dog. The transport ship leaves tomorrow. Jake said, Scout will go back to Earth. They'll take good care of him there. Ben nodded, but Jake could see tears in his eyes. Can I have tonight to say goodbye? Of course, Jake said. That night, Ben took Scout all around the ship. They visited every room, every hallway. Ben told Scout stories about all the missions they had done together. Scout seemed to know something was different, but he stayed close to Ben and wagged his tail when Ben talked to him. The next morning, the transport ship arrived. It was called the Peaceful Journey, and it was carrying supplies back to Earth. The captain, a kind woman named Carol Murphy, promised to take good care of Scout. Ben knelt down and hugged Scout tight. You're the best dog in the whole galaxy, he whispered. I love you, boy. Scout licked Ben's face and wagged his tail. He didn't understand why Ben was sad, but he wanted to make his human feel better. As they led Scout onto the transport ship, he kept looking back at Ben. The dog whined a little, confused about why he was leaving his pack. Ben watched until the transport ship disappeared into space. Then he went to his room and didn't come out for the rest of the day. 3 days later, the aliens returned. Commander Zethkar looked around the bridge and noticed Scout was gone. Good, the lizard-like alien said. You have removed the emotional weakness. Now we can begin the real tests. What kind of tests? Jake asked. Combat simulations first, said Drone Prime Zaloth. Then strategy problems. If you pass, you will be allowed to join the Federation as junior members. Crystal voice Morthic glowed brighter. The tests will be difficult. Many species fail. But without emotional attachments to distract you, you might have a chance. For the next week, the crew worked hard on the aliens' tests. The combat simulations were tough, but they did well. The strategy problems were complex, but they solved most of them. Ben threw himself into the work. Without Scout by his side, he seemed different, quieter, more focused, but also sadder. Then the bad news came. Lisa picked up an emergency signal during her night shift. Her face went white as she listened to the message. Captain Miller to the Tunedis. Bridge immediately, she announced over the ship's communication system. Jake ran to the bridge in his sleep clothes. What's wrong? Lisa's voice shook. Sir, I'm getting reports of a pirate attack. The transport ship Peaceful Journey was attacked by the Crimson Fleet. They destroyed it, sir. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. Are there any survivors? No, sir. The pirates took everything valuable and destroyed the ship. There were no escape pods launched. Everyone on board is dead. The bridge became very quiet. Jake knew he had to tell Ben, but he didn't know how. He found Ben in the weapons room, checking the ship's guns. Ben, I need to talk to you. What's wrong, Captain? Ben asked. You look like someone died. Jake's throat felt tight. Ben, there's been an accident. The Peaceful Journey was attacked by pirates. The ship was destroyed. There were no survivors. Ben stared at Jake for a long moment. Then his face went completely blank. Scout is dead, Ben said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Jake said quietly. I'm sorry, Ben. Ben sat down hard on a supply box. He put his head in his hands. Jake could see his shoulders shaking. The Crimson Fleet? Ben asked. Yes, they're the worst pirates in this sector. They attack transport ships and steal everything. Ben looked up. His eyes were red, but they were also very cold. Where are they based? Ben, I know you're upset, but where are they based? Ben asked again. His voice was like ice. Jake hesitated. Intel says they operate out of the asteroid belt near Proxima Station. But Ben, you can't be thinking. I want to hunt them down, Ben said. I want to make them pay for what they did. That's impossible, Jake said. The Crimson Fleet has over 200 ships. They've been fighting the Federation for years. One person can't. I can try, Ben said. Not that evening. Ben requested a meeting with the alien representatives. Commander Zethkar, Drone Prime Zeloth, and Crystal Voice Morthek appeared on the main screen. I want permission to hunt down the pirates who killed Scout, Ben said. The aliens looked at each other. Commander Zethkar made that cold laughing. Sound again. You want to fight the Crimson Fleet alone? The alien asked. This is exactly the kind of emotional thinking we wanted to eliminate. You're upset about the animal, Drone Prime Zeloth buzzed. This proves emotions still control you. Crystal Voice Morphic glowed brighter. This is not logical. One human cannot defeat hundreds of pirates. Let me try, Ben said. If I fail, you'll have proof that emotions make humans weak. If I succeed, maybe you'll understand that emotions can make us strong. Commander Zethkar's golden eyes seemed amused. This could be interesting. Very well, human. We will give you a small ship and basic weapons. When you fail and die, it will be a good lesson for your species. And if I succeed? Ben asked. You won't. All three aliens said at the same time. Jake grabbed Ben's arm. You can't do this. It's suicide. Ben looked at his captain. His eyes were still cold, but now they also burned with something else. Purpose. Scout was a good dog, Captain. He saved a lot of lives. He deserved better than to die alone in space, scared and confused. Ben's voice got harder. Someone needs to pay for that. That night, Ben prepared for his mission. The aliens gave him a small combat ship called the Retribution. It had basic weapons and shields. Nothing special. As Ben loaded his supplies, Amy Foster came to talk to him. This is crazy, Ben. you're going to get yourself killed. Maybe, Ben said. But Scout didn't deserve to die like that. If I can stop the Crimson Fleet from killing other innocent people, then it's worth it. What if the aliens are right? What if this is just emotion making you think stupid? Ben stopped packing and looked at her. Amy, when your little sister was sick, did emotion make you stupid when you worked extra shifts to pay for her medicine? Amy shook her head. When Pete's father was trapped in that mine collapse, did emotion make him stupid when he dug for 3 days straight to save him? No, Amy said quietly. Sometimes emotion doesn't make you weak, Ben said. Sometimes it makes you stronger than you ever thought possible. The next morning, Ben launched the Retribution into space. As he flew away from the new horizon, he looked back once at the ship that had been his home. Then he turned toward the asteroid belt, toward the Crimson Fleet, and toward a war that everyone believed he could not win. But Ben had something the aliens didn't understand. He had love for a good dog, and grief for a friend lost too soon. And sometimes those feelings can move mountains. Ben Hayes sat in the pilot's seat of the Retribution, staring at the star map on his screen. The ship was small and simple, with just basic weapons and shields. The aliens had given him the minimum they thought he needed to fail quickly. Computer, show me everything about the Crimson Fleet, Ben said. The screen filled with information. The Crimson Fleet was the most dangerous pirate group in this part of space. They had over 200 ships and thousands of fighters. Their leader was a brutal alien called Captain Vex Darkstar. They attacked transport ships, mining stations, and sometimes even military vessels. Ben studied the reports for hours. The Federation had been fighting the Crimson Fleet for 10 years and had never won a major victory. The pirates were too smart, too fast, and too well hidden. Computer, show me their recent attacks, Ben said. A list appeared on the screen. The Peaceful Journey was just one of many ships they had destroyed in the past month. Ben felt anger burning in his chest as he read about families killed, cargo stolen, and ships destroyed for no reason except greed. Ben set course for the Outer Rim, where the pirates operated. It would take 3 days to get their dot back on the new horizon. The aliens watched Ben's progress on their screens. The human is flying toward the pirate territory, reported Drone Prime Zeloth. Our sensors show his emotional stress levels are very high. Commander Zethkar's golden eyes gleamed. Good. When he dies, his species will understand that emotions lead to poor decisions. Crystal voice Morthek glowed softly. We should record this for our research. It will be useful data about human emotional dysfunction. On the 3rd day, Ben reached the asteroid belt. This was dangerous space, full of floating rocks and hidden pirate bases. Ben turned off most of his ship's power to avoid detection and drifted slowly through the asteroids. Computer, scan for pirate signals. Ben whispered. Detecting communication signals from asteroid designation Alpha 7, the computer replied. Configuration suggests a small pirate base. Ben smiled for the first time since Scout died. It was not a nice smile. The pirate base was built inside a large asteroid. Ben could see 3 pirate ships docked there, and sensor readings showed about 30 pirates inside the base. Ben didn't attack right away. Instead, he watched and learned. For 2 days, he studied their patterns. He learned when they changed guards, when they slept, and when they were most vulnerable. On the 2nd night, Ben put on his spacesuit and left the Retribution. He used his suit's small thrusters to fly quietly to the asteroid base. The pirates had put sensors around their base, but they were looking for ships, not single people in spacesuits. Ben found an old mining tunnel that led into the asteroid dock inside the base. The pirates were drinking and playing games. They felt safe in their hidden base, surrounded by dangerous asteroids that most ships couldn't navigate. Ben moved through the shadows like a ghost. He had learned stealth skills during the war on Europa, and Scout had taught him patience during their long hunts for hidden enemies. First, Ben found their communication room. He planted a small device that would let him listen to their radio signals. Then he found their power generator and planted another device. The pirates never knew he was there. When Ben got back to his ship, he activated the devices, the communication. Device let him hear everything the pirates said to each other. The power device would shut down their generator when Ben wanted it to. Computer, record all pirate communications, Ben ordered. For the next day, Ben listened to the pirates talk. He learned about their plans, their fears, and their weaknesses. He learned that they were afraid of something called the Federation. Ghost, a mysterious enemy that had been attacking pirate groups. Ben smiled. He would give them a real ghost to fear. That night, Ben activated the power device. All the lights in the pirate base went out. In the darkness, Ben used his ship's weapons to create noise and confusion around the asteroid. The pirates panicked. They thought they were under attack by a large Federation force. In the darkness, they started shooting at shadows and each other. When the sun came up, Ben was gone. The pirates found their communication equipment destroyed and strange messages written on their walls. Scout remembers. Scout never forgets. The pirates didn't know what it meant, but it scared them. Commander Zethkar watched the recordings from his ship. What is the human doing? This is not normal combat behavior. He is using psychological tactics, observed Crystal Voice Morthic. This is unexpected. Ben moved to his next target, a small pirate patrol that was hunting for transport ships. The patrol had 2 fast attack ships with 8 pirates total, but Ben didn't attack them directly. Instead, he followed them quietly for days, learning their patrol route. He discovered they always stopped at the same asteroid to rest and refuel. When the pirates landed on the asteroid, Ben was waiting. He had spent hours preparing the asteroid, moving rocks and setting up his own traps. When the pirates' ships landed, Ben was already in position. First, he disabled their ship's engines with precise shots from long range. The pirates were stranded on the asteroid with no way to escape. Then Ben started the real attack. But instead of rushing in with guns, he used fear. Ben would appear for a few seconds, take out one pirate, then disappear again. He moved through the asteroid's caves and tunnels like he belonged there. The remaining pirates began to panic. "Who are you?" One pirate screamed into the darkness. Ben's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "I'm the friend of someone you killed." His name was Scout. "We don't know any Scout," the pirate yelled. "He was a good dog," Ben's voice said. "You killed him when you destroyed the peaceful journey." The pirates started shooting at shadows. They wasted their ammunition on rocks and empty air while Ben picked them off one by one. When it was over, Ben had captured both pirate ships and taken 2 pirates prisoner. He sent the ships back to Federation space with a message, a gift from Scout's friend. The aliens monitoring Ben's progress were confused. "His tactics make no logical sense," said Drone Prime Zeloth. "Why does he not attack directly?" "He is using the pirates' emotions against them," realized Crystal Voice Morthic. "Fear, confusion, panic. He turns their feelings into weapons." Commander Zethkar's golden eyes narrowed. Impossible. Emotions are weaknesses, not weapons. But Ben was just getting started. His next target was a supply convoy carrying weapons to the main Crimson Fleet base. 6 pirate ships escorting 3. Cargo vessels full of guns and ammunition. Ben studied the convoy for days, learning their route and timing. Then he did something the pirates never expected. He attacked them while they were attacking someone else. The convoy was raiding a small mining colony when Ben struck. While the pirates were focused on stealing from the miners, Ben hit their ships from behind. But Ben didn't just shoot randomly. He had studied each ship and knew exactly where to hit them to disable their engines, without killing everyone inside, not in 15 minutes. Ben had disabled 5 of the 6 escort ships. The 6th ship tried to run, but Ben chased it down. When it was over, Ben had captured the entire convoy. He sent the cargo ships full of weapons to the Federation and the captured pirates too, Federation prisons. But he kept one pirate alive to send the message. "Tell Captain Vex Darkstar that Scout is coming for him." Ben said to the terrified pirate, "Tell him that a good dog died because of his greed, and someone who loved that dog is very, very angry." The pirate was so scared he could barely speak. Who are you?" Ben's eyes were cold as space. "I'm just a man who lost his best friend. But I'm learning that grief can be a powerful weapon when you use it right." News of Ben's victories spread through the pirate networks. The Crimson Fleet started calling him the Ghost because he seemed to appear and disappear without warning. Captain Vex Darkstar was furious. He had never lost so many ships to one enemy before. "Find this ghost." Vex screamed at his lieutenants, "I want him dead." But Ben was already moving to his next target. He had learned that the Crimson Fleet was planning a major attack on a passenger ship carrying families from Earth to the colonies. Ben couldn't let that happen. Too many innocent people would die. Just like Scout had died. As Ben prepared for his biggest battle yet, he thought about what the aliens had said. They believed emotions made humans weak. But Scout had taught Ben that love could make you brave. Grief had taught him that loss could make you strong. And anger had taught him that sometimes you had to fight for what was right, even when the odds were impossible. The aliens thought they understood humans. They thought emotions were just biological programming that got in the way of logical thinking. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Ben set course for the passenger ship's route. The Crimson Fleet was waiting there with 20 ships, ready to attack innocent families. But they didn't know that Scout's friend was coming for them, and Ben Hayes had learned that sometimes love and grief could move mountains. Or in this case, destroy pirate fleets. Ben Hayes looked at the massive fortress in front of him and knew he was probably going to die. The Crimson Fleet's main base was built inside a huge asteroid, bigger than most cities. Over 200 pirate ships surrounded it like angry wasps around their nest. Thousands of pirates lived and worked inside the fortress, making it the most dangerous place in this part of space. Ben had followed the trail here after stopping the attack on the passenger ship. That battle had been close, 20 pirate ships against his one small vessel. But Ben had used the asteroid field to his advantage, making the pirates chase him through narrow spaces with their larger ships. Couldn't maneuver well. He had won that fight, but barely. His ship was damaged, his weapons were running low on power, and he was exhausted. Now he sat in the shadows of a large asteroid, watching the fortress and thinking about Scout. The dog would have loved this place. So many hiding spots to explore. So many interesting smells from all the different alien ships. "I miss you, boy," Ben whispered to the empty cockpit. "But I'm going to finish this. For you." Ben spent 3 days watching the fortress, learning everything he could. He saw how the guards changed shifts, where the ships came and went, and how the pirates acted when they thought they were safe. What Ben learned was that the pirates were scared. Word of the ghost had spread through their entire organization. Pirates who had never been afraid of anything were now jumping at shadows. They doubled their guards, traveled in larger groups, and constantly checked their equipment for sabotage. Ben smiled. Fear was a weapon, and he was getting very good at using it. On the 4th night, Ben made his move. He didn't attack the fortress directly. Instead, he did something that no one expected. He surrendered. Ben flew his damaged ship straight toward the fortress, broadcasting a surrender message. "This is the ship Retribution. My engines are failing, and my weapons are dead. I request permission to land for repairs." The pirates were suspicious, but Ben's ship really did look damaged. After scanning it carefully, they decided he was just another unlucky pilot who had wandered into their territory. They brought Ben's ship into the fortress's docking bay and surrounded it with guards. Ben came out of his ship with his hands up. He looked tired and defeated. The pirates laughed at him. "So you're the famous ghost," said the pirate captain in charge of the docking bay. "You don't look so scary now." "I got lucky a few times," Ben said quietly. "But luck runs out." They put Ben in a prison cell deep inside the fortress while they decided what to do with him. The cell was small and dark, but it was exactly where Ben wanted to be. While the pirates celebrated capturing the famous ghost, Ben was working. The prison cell was in the fortress's lower levels, near the main power systems and communication centers. Ben had studied the fortress's design for days and knew exactly where he needed to go. Using tools hidden in his clothes, Ben quietly cut through the wall of his cell. The pirates had built their fortress quickly and carelessly, more worried about big threats than small ones. Ben crawled through the fortress's maintenance. Tunnels like Scout used to crawl through air vents during their missions. The tunnels were dark and narrow, but Ben had learned patience from his dog. First, Ben reached the communication center. Late at night, when only one board guard was on duty, Ben knocked the guard unconscious and took control of the system. Ben began sending false messages throughout the fortress. He made it look like Federation battle fleets were approaching from 3 different directions. He created fake emergency signals and false alarm codes. Then Ben moved to the power systems. Fortress was powered by 3 main generators deep in the asteroid's core. Ben had memorized their locations during his days of watching, but Ben didn't destroy the generators. Instead, he reprogrammed them. Scout had taught Ben to be clever during their hunts. Instead of chasing the prey directly, sometimes it was better to make the prey come to you. Ben set the generators to overload in a specific pattern. When they failed, the fortress's defense systems would automatically switch to backup power. But Ben had also sabotaged the backup systems to create a cascade failure that would spread throughout the base. The beauty of Ben's plan was that it would look like an accident, not sabotage. As Ben worked, he thought about what the aliens had said about emotions being weaknesses. They didn't understand that grief could teach you patience, that love could teach you sacrifice, and that anger could teach you to never give up. Scout had died because pirates were greedy and cruel. Ben was going to make sure they never hurt anyone else the same way. Ben's next stop was the weapons storage area. The fortress had enough guns and explosives to outfit a small army. The pirates kept it all in one place to make it easier to guard. Ben didn't steal the weapons. Instead, he reprogrammed their safety systems and planted small charges in key locations. When the power systems failed, the weapons storage would become very unstable. By the time Ben finished his sabotage, it was almost morning. The fortress was still quiet, and no one had discovered he was missing from his cell yet. Ben made his way to the fortress's command center. This was the most dangerous part of his plan, because the command center was always heavily guarded. But Ben had learned from Scout that sometimes the best way to avoid guards was to act like you belonged there. Ben put on a stolen pirate uniform and walked confidently through the corridors. When other pirates saw him, they assumed he was supposed to be there. Ben had studied their behavior for days and knew exactly how to act. In the command center, Ben found exactly what he was looking for: the fortress's main computer system. Ben plugged a small device into the computer and began uploading a virus he had written during his long hours in space. The virus was designed to do one simple thing: make the fortress think it was under attack by multiple Federation fleets. When the virus activated, every sensor in the fortress would show Federation ships approaching. Every communication system would broadcast invasion warnings. Every defense system would activate at once. The fortress would tear itself apart trying to fight enemies that weren't there. Ben set the timer for 1 hour, then made his way back toward the docking bay, where his ship waited. But as he walked through the corridors, alarms began sounding throughout the fortress. Someone had discovered his empty cell. Intruder alert. Voices shouted over the communication system. The ghost has escaped. All units searched the fortress. Ben started running. Pirates poured into the corridors, searching for him. Laser shots filled the air as nervous guards shot. At Shadows, Ben used the chaos to his advantage, moving through maintenance tunnels and emergency passages that the pirates had forgotten about. Scout had taught him that when you're being hunted, the best strategy is to make your hunters hunt. Each other. Ben began setting off false alarms throughout the fortress. Emergency lights flashed, doors sealed automatically, and sprinkler systems activated. In the confusion, pirates began shooting at each other, thinking their fellow pirates were Federation soldiers. 20 minutes before his virus was set to activate, Ben reached the docking bay. His ship was surrounded by guards, but they were all looking outward, watching for him to approach from the corridors. They weren't watching the ceiling. Ben crawled through an air vent above the docking bay, just like Scout used to do. When he was directly over his ship, Ben dropped down and landed on its hull. The guards below him spun around in confusion. Where did he come from? Ben was already inside his ship, starting the engines. The guards began shooting, but Ben's ship lifted off before they could do serious damage. Stop him! Captain Vex Darkstar's voice roared over the communication system. Don't let the ghost escape. But Ben wasn't trying to escape. He was positioning his ship for the final phase of his planned out as Ben flew through the fortress's docking bay. His virus activated. Every screen in the fortress lit up with warnings of incoming Federation fleets. Sensor readings showed hundreds of ships approaching from all directions. Communication systems screened invasion alerts. The fortress's automated defense systems came online and began firing in all directions. But there were no Federation ships to shoot at, so the weapons began targeting anything that moved, including the pirates' own ships. Pirates panicked and began shooting at each other, thinking they were under attack. In the confusion, no one knew who was friend and who was enemy. The power systems Ben had sabotaged began failing in sequence. As each generator overloaded, more systems throughout the fortress went offline. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows. That made pirates shoot at their own reflections. Then the weapon storage exploded. Ben had timed it perfectly. As the power systems failed, the unstable weapon storage erupted in a chain of explosions that shook the entire asteroid. The fortress began tearing itself apart from the inside. Through it all, Ben flew his small ship through the chaos, avoiding the massive weapons fire and exploding debris. He had studied the fortress's layout so carefully that he knew exactly where to go to avoid the worst of the destruction. Captain Vex Darkstar appeared on Ben's communication screen, his ugly face twisted with rage. You? How did one human do this? Ben looked at the pirate captain with cold eyes. You killed an innocent transport ship. There was a good dog on that ship named Scout. He never hurt anyone. He just wanted to help people and make his human happy. It was just an animal, Vex screamed. No, Ben said quietly. He was family, and you killed him for money. The fortress shuddered as another explosion ripped through its core. Pirate ships tried to escape, but in their panic, they crashed into each other and into the asteroid's walls. This is impossible, Vex yelled. One person cannot defeat an entire fleet. Ben thought about Scout, waiting faithfully by his side during long missions. He thought about the dog's loyalty, courage, and love. He thought about all the people Scout had saved during their time together. You're right, Ben said. One person can't do this alone. But I'm not alone. I carry everyone I've ever loved with me Everyone who ever taught me to be better than I was. You'll never understand that, because you only care about yourself. The last thing Captain Vex Darkstar saw was Ben's ship flying away from the dying fortress, silhouetted against the explosions that lit up space like a second sun. When the destruction finally stopped, the entire Crimson Fleet was gone. The fortress was rubble floating in space. The pirates who survived were scattered and leaderless, no longer a threat to anyone. Ben flew away from the wreckage and set course for Federation space. His ship was damaged, he was exhausted, and he missed Scout more than ever, but he had kept his promise. Scout could rest in peace now, knowing that the pirates who killed him would never hurt anyone else. Back on the New Horizon, the alien representatives watched the recordings of the battle in complete silence. "How is this possible?" whispered Drone Prime XEL OTH. Commander Zethkar's golden eyes were wide with shock. One human destroyed what our entire fleet could not. Defeat in 10 years of trying. Crystal voice Morthic's glow flickered with confusion. This contradicts everything we know about emotional beings. Logic says this should have been impossible. Captain Jake Miller looked at the aliens with a small smile. Maybe it's time you learned something new about emotions. The aliens had laughed at human feelings, calling them weaknesses and primitive programming. They weren't laughing anymore. Then, Hayes returned to the New Horizon 3 weeks after the destruction of the Crimson Fleet fortress. His ship was barely holding together, held together with patches and emergency repairs. When he landed in the docking bay, the entire crew was waiting for him. Captain Jake Miller was the first to greet him. "Ben, what you did out there, it's incredible. The entire galaxy is talking about it." Ben climbed out of his ship slowly. He looked tired and older than when he had left. "It's done," he said simply. "The Crimson Fleet is finished." Amy Foster stepped forward. "The Federation sent us reports. You destroyed over 200 pirate ships and their main base. Intelligence agencies across the galaxy are trying to figure out how one person did what entire fleets couldn't do." "I had help," Ben said quietly. "What do you mean?" asked Pete Collins. Ben touched a small photo he kept in his pocket, a picture of Scout sitting in the ship's garden. "I had the memory of a good dog who taught me what loyalty means." Dr. Karen White scanned Ben with her medical equipment. "You're exhausted and malnourished, but you're alive. That's more than anyone expected. The aliens want to see you," Jake said. "They've been asking for you every day since the news broke." Ben nodded. "I figured they would." An hour later, Ben stood on the bridge facing the 3 alien representatives on the main screen. Commander Zethkar, Drone Prime Zeloff, and Crystal Voice Morthak looked very different than they had before. The confident superiority was gone from their voices. "Human Ben Hayes," Commander Zethkar began, and his voice was respectful now. "We have reviewed the battle recordings from the Crimson Fleet engagement. We must admit that what you accomplished should have been impossible." Drone Prime Zeloth's buzzing was quieter than before. "Our tactical computers cannot explain your victory. The logical probability of success was less than 0.3%. Crystal Voice Morthic's glow was subdued. "We have spent days trying to understand how emotion led to strategic success rather than failure." Ben looked at the 3 aliens who had mocked human feelings just weeks before. "You want to know how I did it?" "Yes," all 3 said together. Ben was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain. "When you took Scout away from me, you thought you were removing a weakness, but you were wrong. Scout wasn't my weakness. He was my teacher." "What did an animal teach you that our advanced civilizations could not?" asked Commander Zethkar. "Loyalty," Ben said. "Scout taught me that when you love someone, you never give up on them. You protect them even when it's dangerous, even when it's impossible." Ben walked closer to the screen. Patience. Scout taught me to wait and watch and learn before acting. He taught me that sometimes the best attack comes from understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. But these are just basic tactical concepts, said Drone Prime Zeloth. No, Ben said firmly. They're not tactics. They're feelings. Scout taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being afraid and doing what's right anyway. He taught me that love makes you willing to sacrifice everything for others. Crystal voice Morthic's glow brightened slightly. You used emotional concepts as weapons. I used emotional understanding as strategy, Ben corrected. The pirates were afraid, so I gave them more to fear. They were greedy, so I used their greed against them. They were cruel, so their cruelty made them turn on each other. Ben thought about Scout waiting patiently by his side during long missions. You see emotions as chaos that disrupts logical thinking. But emotions aren't chaos. They're information. Fear tells you what's dangerous. Love tells you what's worth protecting. Anger tells you what's wrong and needs to be fixed. Commander Zethkar's golden eyes were thoughtful. We never considered that emotions could provide tactical intelligence. There's more, Ben continued. When I was out there alone, fighting impossible odds, I wasn't really alone. I carried Scout with me. I carried the memory of everyone who had ever taught me something important. My crew, my family, my friends, they were all with me. Ben's voice got stronger. You think individuals are weak and collectives are strong. But humans are both individual and collective at the same time. We carry our loved ones with us wherever we go. Their lessons, their love, their sacrifice. It all becomes part of who we are. Dr. White stepped forward. If I may add something, Ben's bond with Scout wasn't just emotional. It was neurological. Studies show that humans who form strong emotional bonds develop enhanced pattern recognition, improved stress response, and increased problem-solving abilities. Drone Prime Zeloth buzzed with interest. Enhanced cognitive abilities through emotional bonding? This is not in our data about human physiology. Because you never looked for it, Jake said. You were so focused on seeing emotions as weaknesses that you missed their strengths. Crystal voice Morthic glowed brighter. We must reconsider our entire understanding of emotional species. Ben held up his hand. There's something else you need to understand. When I destroyed the Crimson Fleet, I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for justice. What is the difference? Asked Commander Zethkar. Revenge is about making yourself feel better by hurting others, Ben explained. Justice is about protecting innocent people from being hurt. Scout was gone, and nothing could bring him back. But I could make sure the pirates never killed another innocent transport ship. Ben looked directly at each alien. That's what love really teaches you, that some things are more important than your own life. Scout died protecting people he had never met, just because it was the right thing to do. I learned from his example. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Commander Zethkar spoke. Human Ben Hayes, on behalf of the Galactic Federation, we formally apologize for our misunderstanding of your species. We request that humanity join the Federation, not as junior members, but as full partners, added Drone Prime XEL, single quotes OTH. Crystal voice, Morthic's glow, became warm and bright. We also request that you, specifically, accept the position of strategic advisor to the Federation Fleet Command. Ben was surprised. Me? Why? Because you accomplished what our greatest military minds could not, Commander Zethkar said. You found a way to defeat an enemy that had been terrorizing this sector for years. We need to learn from your methods. Jake smiled. What do you say, Ben? Ready to teach the galaxy about human tactics? Ben thought about it for a moment. I'll accept, but only on one condition. What condition? Asked the aliens. Ben pulled out the photo of Scout from his pocket. This dog is honored as a hero of the Federation. His sacrifice made my victory possible, and he deserves to be remembered. The three aliens looked at each other. Then Commander Zethkar nodded solemnly. It shall be done. Scout will be recorded in the Federation archives as the first non-sentient being to receive the Medal of Galactic Honor. 6 months later, Ben stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Federation vessel Scout's Honor. He was now Admiral Ben Hayes, the youngest admiral in Federation history and the first human to command a mixed-species fleet. The ship's crew included humans, Vorthik, Naxari, and Kelthans, all working together. At first, the aliens had trouble understanding human emotional responses, but they were learning. Ben had instituted new training programs that taught alien crew members about human emotions and taught humans about alien logic systems. The combination was proving incredibly effective. Amy Foster, now captain of the Scout's Honor, found Ben in his ready room one evening. He was sitting at his desk, looking at a holographic display that showed Scout playing in the ship's garden. "The memorial service is ready," Amy said gently. Ben nodded and followed her to the ship's memorial garden. The entire crew was gathered there, humans and aliens standing together. In the center of the garden was a statue of Scout, cast in bronze. Sitting at attention with his head held high, Commander Zethkar, who now served as Ben's tactical advisor, stepped forward. "Today we honor Scout, a being who taught us that strength comes not from suppressing emotion, but from understanding it and using it wisely." Drone Prime Zeloth buzzed softly. "Scout showed us that loyalty, courage, and love are not weaknesses to be overcome, but strengths to be cultivated." Crystal Voice Morthic glowed warmly. "Through Scout's sacrifice and his human companion's response, we learned that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds." Ben placed a wreath at the base of the statue. "Scout was a good dog," he said simply. "He taught me that love isn't something you lose when someone dies. It's something you carry forward to make the world better." As the ceremony ended and the crew dispersed, Jake Miller joined Ben beside the statue. "Any regrets?" Jake asked. Ben smiled, the first truly happy smile anyone had seen from him since Scout's death. Scout always wanted to explore the galaxy. Now he's going to see more of it than any dog in history. Jake laughed. "I think he'd like that." Ben looked out at the stars through the garden's transparent ceiling. Somewhere out there were worlds that needed protection, innocent people who needed defenders, and challenges that would require all. The wisdom that Scout had taught him. "Come on," Ben said to Jake. "We have work to do. The galaxy is a big place, and there are a lot of good beings out there who need someone to watch their backs." As the Scout's Honor jumped to hyperspace, heading toward their next mission, Ben felt a familiar presence beside him. Scout might be gone, but everything the dog had taught him about loyalty, courage, and love lived on. The aliens had laughed at human emotions, calling them primitive and weak. Now those same emotions were protecting the galaxy, one mission at a time, and somewhere in space, in the warm memory of a man who loved him. A good dog named Scout wagged his tail and knew that his human had finally learned the most important lesson of all. Love never really dies. It just finds new ways to make the universe a better place.